Hello, and thank you for joining us for the presentation on the German rules of riding according to HDV12 German Cavalry Manual. This is an introduction. The German rules of riding. We're going to look at why does the HDV12, the German rules of riding, matter to you? What is the HDV12? What do we need to know about its history to put it into context and understand it better? I am your presenter, Stephanie Reinhold. I am an eternal student of the horse, and if you'd like to know more about me and my work, please go to reinholdshorse.com. So why does the HDV12 matter? We want to succeed in our equestrian activities of choice, and for that we need to have happy, healthy, and sound horses. If we have wellness, happy, healthy, and sound horses, we can also have success. We also want to have a basic training that is built around producing a strong and sound horse, and that training system needs to be evidence-based. We don't want something that somebody just pulled out of a hat. Let's make a statement. Why does it matter? Our horse's soundness is the highest goal. Do you agree with that? If you do, you will want a physically sound, a mentally relaxed, and a confident horse. So if you agree with this statement, please do watch on. If you do not agree with this statement, this presentation has nothing to offer you and you might save yourself some time. But if you can agree it's what we want, let's move right along. So what is the HDV12? Is it a bird flu? Is it an app you can download from the Play Store? It's an abbreviation. Heeresdienstvorschrift Nummer 12 means Army Regulation Number 12. It was devised at the Cavalry School in Hanover. It's a complete guideline for riding, teaching, riding, and training horses. And Christoph Hess, in his foreword to the English version of the HDV12, calls it the Bible of classical German horsemanship. It's also the original source of the training scale. For those of you familiar with it, it represents concepts introduced in the HDV12 from rhythm through collection. It's also the basis for the German training system. The FN, the German National Equestrian Federation, publishes its official handbook, and it's based on the HDV12. So it's a complete basic instruction course for the German training system. Why should we care about a cavalry system? Why should we care about cavalry riding or cavalry riding rules? All equestrian sports, if we ride English, so-called English equestrian sports, originate in the cavalry tradition: dressage, eventing, show jumping, and so forth, even vaulting. Now, does all that sound very logical and military and structured and German? Yes, but actually, the highest principle and most serious request that comes from the HDV12, and the most important aspect of it, I think, is the requirement to ride with heart. And we'll take a look at that in a moment. Love and compassion is for the horse, of course, as an absolute requirement of the HDV12. We're going to play a little game here, fill in the blanks. We're trying to extract a quote from the HDV12. Lasting success can only be achieved if, fill in the blanks, what goes into the red parentheses there. Lasting success can only be achieved if, what comes to mind? Here's Dr. Rainer Klimke. Lasting success can only be achieved if the heart and soul of all instructors and riders is filled with the joy of riding and the love for the horse. So that's a quote from the HDV12, 1937. The joy of riding and the love for the horse, you have to have it or you will not achieve lasting success. So again, why are we looking at cavalry? Cavalry duty, equestrian sports, what do they have in common? Both require that the rider securely controls his or her horse and that the horse possesses obedience, agility, and endurance. And to get there, what is it that we need to get there? We need a natural and systematic progression. We need a system that keeps the horse sound. Let's take a closer look. These are two illustrations from the HDV12. On the left side, a young remount in the first year of training. On the right side, an old remount in the second year of training. Even though one is going at the trot, the other one is going at the walk, we do see a difference. We have a difference in posture. There are some hints of difference in muscular development, and the rider is certainly sitting differently. Let's look at the same rider and horse pair in different stages of development. So on the bottom left in the blue field, we see Felix Buchner on Herder when Herder was a young remount. And then we see Felix Buchner on Herder when Herder was a finished horse. We see the difference in musculature, we see the difference in posture in both rider and horse, and the difference is quite stunning. So we need that natural systematic progression. But how do we go about this? How do we know what to do? Well, we need a blueprint, and the HDV12 contains this unadulterated blueprint for success. It contains a 2-year training plan complete with what not to do, and it contains the exercises that you need to do and how to do them, along with lots of illustrations. To understand the German rules of riding as a product of cavalry evolution, let's take a brief look at the history of the cavalry. BC through Middle Ages. Renaissance through 19th century. Wow, we just looked at over 2,600 years of cavalry history. That's impressive. Now, what we're more concerned with is the 20th century Germany, 1912 through 1937. So what leads up to development of the last version of the HDV12? Of course, we have World War I. We're still with hussars and uhlans. Uhlans, for example, are those guys with the long lances up there. We have the German Cavalry School, for a while not very active, but then again. We have athletic competition. And we have international cross-pollination. Example, the Germans sent their riders to Italy to learn the forward seat from Caprilli. This is where that forward seat was developed. So development in the cavalry did not happen in silos. It was cross-pollination all the way, all across Europe. A lot of riding again. So we can conclude, after many centuries, the wisdom and experience of the cavalry are unparalleled, and we can benefit from that. The uniform doesn't really matter. In the following, we will see some uniforms from a very difficult historical context. But let's just proceed with an open mind and pay attention to the horsemanship, not to the uniform. The evolution of the HDV12, the story of the HDV12, is really one of progress. One moved away from the old style of cavalry, where there were one-on-one melees, horses and riders crashing into each other, having to move in the smallest spaces and getting at each other with sabers, which found its artistic expression in the Baroque art of riding, to the modern cavalry, and from there lots of forward movement, messengers, reconnaissance, artillery support, multifunctional and forward, to the modern art of riding. So these are two different tracks, basically. What led up to the HDV12? Was there something before, or did it just appear on the horizon in 1937? There were the 1882 Cavalry Riding Instructions. And then 1886 Gustav Steinbrecht's Gymnasium of the Horse, straight and forward was his motto. You may know or have this book already. And then the two versions, the Army regulation versions before the HDV12 1937. One is in 1912, largely incorporating Gustav Steinbrecht's work, and then 1926, the second edition, with more content for advanced riding. Then in 1937, the last edition, featuring the concepts of the training scale in the chapter Goals and Principle of Dressage. So the 1937 version is also somewhat streamlined and simplified. It was a different type of audience for that book. Mainly basic training for new recruits and some regulations that went beyond that. So the 2-year basic training for a horse and rider, that's the focus of the HDV12 1937 version. So do you have any questions? Please type them into the chat field if this is live. But I'm also recording this, so if you see it on Facebook, send us a message. Now, let's time travel. It's 1935. Why are we time traveling to 1935? First of all, it's the high time of the German cavalry, and it's also a year before the 1936 Olympics, so there's lots of wonderful preparation going on, and all those very important people are still around. Introducing the contributors. Who were the old masters? What were they doing in 1935? Let's take a look. Trust, relaxation, and confidence. That's what Siegfried Haug said. Siegfried von Haug in 1935 was the leader, the head, I want to say, of the Remount School in Oschatz. This is where they produced around 400 new horses for the cavalry each year. He's also touted as the inventor of the training scale because he wrote in 1935 Teaching Riding to Recruits, where the training scale concepts appear in that sequence for the first time. And just like his father, von Haug is also a former Ulan. You will remember those riders with the long lances. Then we have Felix Birkner. Life's too short to learn how to ride right. A quote from his autobiography. Felix Birkner, in 1935, is a civilian with a successful stable. He had been a competitor in the 1912 and 1928 Olympics. And he's now hired on to prepare horses and riders for the Olympics in 1936. And then we have Otto Loerke. Off with the running reins, said Otto Loerke. He also carried a knife and cut the running reins whenever he got a chance. Otto Loerke is also called the father of German dressage. He's also a former Ulan, and he's now an instructor at the Cavalry School in Hanover. And his former job was to create so-called monument horses. Those were bomb-proof horses for the Emperor Wilhelm. Now my personal favorite, Oskar Maria Stensbeck, balanced, soft, and through or not at all. He was a lifelong civilian. He wrote several books, and he was the son of a professor of riding instruction. Can you imagine what kind of life this man had? Here we see him on the last horse he ever rode. Died in 1939. So now we can take a quick glance at some of these people. We're going to look at Oberst Gerhard, gold medalist of 1936 Olympics, Otto Loerke, and Oskar Stensbeck at the Cavalry School in Hanover. Yeah. So here Oberst Gerhard working a horse in the pillars. Supposedly Oberst Gerhard had a back problem. kind of looks a little bit like it. So there we have Otto Lörke working a horse in hand. And here we have Oskar Maria Stensbeck riding Gimpel. We will see him again in a moment. And in this video, Oskar Maria Stensbeck is 82 years old and Gimpel is 20. So together they are 102 years old. And everything is as light as a feather and easy peasy. And here's someone who's riding with invisible aids. It's just lovely. A senior horse and a senior rider. Unbelievable. Hope you enjoyed that. So when we talk about cavalry school and cavalry education, the building blocks, what were they? The horse and the rider. First of all, the cavalry horse. They were large breeding operations. Many state studs had been founded in the 15 or 1600s, and they do still exist today, many of them. So it's a wonderful thing to go and visit. The breeds were Trakehner, East Prussians, Hanoverians. The recruits, most did not know how to ride. The guys on the bottom left are just heading out for their first ever hack out. That's at the riding school in Hanover. And then we have a young man having some fun at the remount school in Oschatz. And all recruits underwent a basic 2-year rider training. We see these men here must be in the first 3 months of their education because they are still riding with side reins so that they will not disturb the horse in the mouth. They were not allowed any rein contact until they developed a completely independent seat. The life of the officers looked a little differently. They were encouraged to pursue athletic competition. They were instructed in the art of riding. Some of them were aristocrats, and many of them already were very accomplished riders when they joined the cavalry. And here we see von Oppeln-Bronikowski with Gimpel. This is the same horse we saw under Oskar Maria Stensbeck, the senior rider there in our video. And now we have Baron Conrad von Wangenheim on Kurfürst. If you do not like the music, I apologize. It's a wonderful, harmonious pair. So I just kind of skipped over one slide, but it's not that important. So Kurt Albrecht von Siegner says, there is no difference between cavalry riding and civilian riding. There's only riding right. So he says that in the foreword to the annotated HDV12, which is published in Germany, and it was first published in 2016. And actually, the HDV12 is still widely published and read in Germany, annotated or not. This particular wonderful version is a cooperation between Kurt Albrecht von Siegner and Dr. Heuschmann. And Mr. von Siegner passed away a few months after it was published. So this was kind of his last contribution to this wonderful cause that was so very dear to him. So again, there's no difference between cavalry riding and civilian riding. There's only riding right. I think we should all remember that. So successful with classic, was it only for the guys back then? According to what we just heard from Kurt Albrecht von Siegner, that is not the case. Here we have somebody who's very successful today. Ingrid Klimke, who is following the classical approach, very successful rider. Then we have Irmgard von Opel jumping. We have Michi Jung today, who's also a very classical rider, choosing a classical approach, very successful. So what about us? We are not Olympians, we are not international competitors, but as recreational riders, can we benefit from the classical approach? Can we benefit from the HDV12 and the Cavalry Guidelines? Absolutely, yes. So we put our horse's mental and physical soundness first. We already established that. We strive for performance no matter what we do, whatever the discipline or activity of choice is. And we want an evidence-based training system. Again, we don't want something somebody pulled out of their hat or invented. We want to see that it worked, and it worked for a very long time. So what does the modern horse and rider have to gain from the classical approach? Absolutely everything. Biomechanically sound system, horse's welfare, first priority, compassion. We said evidence-based, then creating a relaxed, agile, strong horse that's mentally and physically well. All this leads to optimal performance. So the question is, at the end of our presentation, are the classical German rules of riding for you? And I hope that you can enthusiastically say, yes, I'm curious, I want to know, I would like to apply this, what can I do? And for that, I thank you already. And I want to guide you toward our Facebook page, HDV12 book, the website where you can shop for the book. You can also find the book on Amazon, but you will definitely get free shipping on HDV12.com. You can also book a presentation. Please give me a call or send me an email. And also visit reinholdshorse-wellness.com for more information. Thank you very much again, and you have a wonderful time with your horse.